One of my sweetest memories comes from a visit to my mother's home. She was receiving hospice care at the time, and my daughter, Olivia, was just a toddler. At first, Olivia was shy. She didn't know her grandma very well. But that changed, thanks to a faithful old cat. Over the next few days, the three of them, Olivia, Grandma, and the cat, became fast friends. Even as sick as she was, Grandma lit up every time Olivia came into the room. Eventually, it was time to say goodbye. In the rush, we forgot about Olivia. But Olivia hadn't forgotten. She excitedly signed, "Cat," grabbed my wife's hand, and led her straight back to Grandma's room. She gave her one last hug. And then, in a moment I'll never forget, Grandma said, "I sure do love you, Olivia." Olivia looked her in the eye, smiled, and crossed her hands over her heart. Her sign for love. It was a gift, a goodbye, and it meant the world.
Last fall, I was sitting at the breakfast table, reading the paper, while my 15-month-old son, Jeremy, looked out the front window. Suddenly, he ran over, eyes wide, and started signing elephant over and over. I followed him to the window, but there was no elephant in the front yard. Of course not. Jeremy kept signing elephant, then added the sign for noise and pointed to his ear. Just then, our neighbor appeared, leaf blower in hand, swinging the long nozzle back and forth like a trunk. It wasn't an elephant, but in Jeremy's eyes, it was close enough. He wanted to share his discovery with me, and thanks to baby signs, he could.
I work with toddlers at a childcare center that uses baby signs every day. It's made such a difference. The children can tell us what they're thinking, what they need, and how they feel. One day, we were all outside playing when I noticed 18-month-old Tessa was crying. I walked over and gently said, "Tessa, I can see you're sad." She paused, looked at me, and shook her head. Then she pointed at little Jonathan, who was pushing her favorite toy grocery cart, and she raised her little fists and shook them in the air, our classroom sign for angry. Tessa wasn't sad. She was mad. She might have been just a toddler, but she knew exactly what she was feeling and how to express it. Thanks to baby signs, she had the words before words.
One evening, my husband Michael was feeding our 20-month-old daughter, Audrey. She was thrilled to get a little piece of his hamburger and bun, and like toddlers do, she shoved the whole thing into her mouth. A few moments later, she started signing "help" and pointing to her mouth. Michael panicked. Was she choking? He told her to say, "Ah!" and looked inside. She was breathing fine, so he reassured her. "Good job, you ate it all." But Audrey wasn't done. She signed "help" again and pointed to her mouth, more urgently this time. So Michael looked again and finally discovered the problem. The bun had gotten stuck to the roof of her mouth. Not dangerous, just really annoying. Without baby signs, we might have totally misunderstood her. Instead, Audrey was able to ask for help. And get it. And yes, we're still chuckling about it today.
By the time my daughter Emily was 2.5, she had moved on from signs to spoken words. But at her 3rd birthday party, I learned she hadn't forgotten everything. She was opening gifts when she came to one from her great aunt, a plaid sweater. You could see it on her face. She was not thrilled, and I was worried. Aunt Mary was watching, and I didn't want Emily to say something unkind. So, I caught her eye from across the room and quietly signed, "Thank you." She paused, smiled, looked right at Aunt Mary, and said sweetly, "Thank you." Later, Aunt Mary came up to me and said, "You've raised such a lovely little girl." I smiled and said, "Thank you." And under my breath I added, "To signing."